Glamorous, Princess Snow White, the birth under starfall. The kingdom of Valoria had never seen a night so bright. Above the palace towers of white marble and gold leaf roofs, the skies shimmered with a rare celestial event. The starfall of erythian silver trails swept across the sky like rivers of diamonds. The people cheered, believing, a sign of divine blessing. Inside the palace, Queen Ilaria cried out as life surged through her. Surrounded by maidens and healers, she clutched the silken bedsheets as the cries of a newborn echoed through the chamber. "A girl," whispered the midwife. "My queen, she has skin like morning snow." The infant princess was left motherless sand, the kingdom in mourning. "Then, let her name be Snow White," the queen whispered with a weak smile. But joy turned bitter within days. The queen, too frail after childbirth, passed into eternal sleep beneath a canopy of glowing roses. The rise of the glamorous queen she claimed to be a distant cousin of a noble house, but none could confirm her origin. Her mirror, bound by a pact with a demon called Cytherean, whispered truths no other soul could hear. The king grieved in silence. Valoria dimmed without its queen. Then came Lady Ravina, a foreign noblewoman who arrived with a retinue of shimmering carriages, velvet-coated knights, and strange incense from the east. Her beauty was hypnotic. Crimson lips, emerald eyes, and flowing black hair like silk shadows. Flowers bloomed when she touched them. Servants adored her. Within months, the king married her against his counsel's advice. What they did not know was that Ravina was a witch, a master of glamour magic, a dark art drawn from vanity, mirrors, and life force. Her skin glowed like morning frost. Her hair curled like raven feathers, and her voice could calm storms. She spoke multiple tongues, Valorian, Sylvan, Old Thaulish, and played the harp like it was an extension of her soul, gave coins to orphans, and listened to the stories of old peasants who spoke of forest spirits and long-lost gods. She will eclipse you. The girl will outshine you in time. At first, Ravina tried to love the child, but Snow White, with her innocent beauty and natural charm, drew every eye. Her giggle echoed like music in halls. Ravina's jealousy bloomed into silent rage. "Mirror," she whispered, standing in a secret chamber lined with thorns. "Who is the fairest in all of them?" The mirror's surface rippled, revealing Snow White at age 7, smiling in a garden of butterflies. "Snow White," it whispered, "she is the fairest, and she will rise." By 15, Snow White had become the pride of the kingdom. He had heard tales of Valoria's beauty, but nothing prepared him for the presence of Snow White. She wasn't just beautiful, she was mesmerizing. The people called her the glamour of Valoria, unaware of how much that title wounded the queen. Despite the luxuries around her, Snow White's heart belonged to the ordinary. She often snuck into village markets in disguise. She trained in swordplay with Sir Cedric, the palace guard captain, who treated her like the daughter he never had. "One day, Your Highness," he said, clanging swords with her under moonlight, "you'll need more than beauty. You'll need a blade." "Then teach me well," she replied, sweat glistening on her brow, "and I'll wield both. And bring me her heart sealed in this crystal box." On her 18th birthday, the queen hosted a ball of dazzling splendor. Crystal chandeliers floated by magic. The food was enchanted to never grow cold, and the ballroom glittered with dancers from every noble house in the known world. Snow White descended the grand staircase in a gown made of moonlight silk. The crowd gasped. She was breathtaking. Ravina smiled, but her eyes burned behind her mask. Among the guests was Prince Alaric of Avonmore, a tall, thoughtful warrior prince with storm blue eyes and a scar over his right brow. Their first dance was a moment of stillness in a world of movement. "Do you always look like this?" Alaric asked softly. "Only when the stars are watching," she smiled. That night, Ravina's mirror screamed, "She is loved. She is light. She must die." That very night, Ravina summoned her huntsman. Kale, a half-shadow bound to her by curse and debt, bowed before her in the Tower of Smoke. "Take her into the verdant hollow. End her life." Kale lured Snow White on the pretense of a birthday hunting trip, one of tradition for Valorian royalty. But once they entered the verdant hollow, the woods turned eerie. Leaves shimmered with magic. Animals watched with intelligent eyes. A chill ran down Snow's spine. Kale drew his dagger, then hesitated. "I can't do it," he whispered. "Forgive me." Snow White ran as Ravina's curse on Kale cracked his mind. She ran deeper into the woods where the trees whispered, vines shifted, and light bent strangely. She collapsed near a glowing stream. When she awoke, she was surrounded by the 7 guardians, beings of old magic, who protected the heart of the forest. Nissa, the dryad of whispering trees, Thorn, the stone-skinned golem, Fira, the mischievous fire sprite, Mira, the gentle water nymph, Zeph, the storm crow, winged and proud Renard, a talking fox with eyes like sapphires grim, a blind swordsman who once served an ancient king. They took her in, trained her, protected her. Each one taught her an ancient skill. Nissa taught her how to summon vines and speak to trees. Grim taught her how to fight blindfolded. Renard taught her how to lie like a fox, but live with truth. Fira taught her how to channel fire through gemstones. Snow White, once pampered, grew strong. She stitched her own battle dress of starless and thorn leather. Her lips still glowed red, but now carried commands of thunder. Ravina declared Snow White dead. She unleashed her dark magic across Valoria, draining beauty from maidens, drawing youth into her mirror, twisting her nights into masked wraiths called the Mirror. Villagers turned grey and hollow. Flowers refused to bloom. The kingdom wept in silence. But word began to spread of a white-cloaked woman seen helping border towns, saving lost children, and healing with glowing hands. Prince Alaric rode out alone to find her. He ventured through snowstorms and shadow glades, until at last he found her standing atop a hill with the guardians, her eyes shining with power. "You're alive," he whispered. "And I'm not the girl I was," she replied. "Will you still fight beside me?" "Always." She could no longer remain hidden while her people suffered. Together, they prepared for war. Act Vi. The gathering storm. White roses, snow's symbol, began appearing on doors, windows, and weapons. Snow White, now hardened by her training in the forest and empowered by ancient magic, knew the time had come. "We reclaim the throne," she declared to the 7 guardians. For all the stolen light, Prince Alaric, loyal and proud, pledged his sword and summoned his remaining knights from Av. Together with the guardians, they planned an uprising. Meanwhile, across Valoria, secret signals were sent to those still loyal to the crown. The people stirred. The land trembled. The Knight of Flames from Obsidian Towers, she conjured the Shadow Phoenix, a beast of flame and fear that burned the skies. She commanded the Mirror Guard to raise any village with white roses. Ravina, sensing her magic unraveling, grew desperate. Her mirror whispered dark promises. For every girl robbed of her youth, for every mother turned to stone, we are not afraid of the dark, because we bring the dawn. Rebels, peasants, even former palace guards rose in Snow White's name. The guardians unleashed their powers. Fira rained fire over the mirror, Grimstruck with 1,000 blindfolded blows, and Zeph turned the skies against the enemy. Her eyes bled tears of ink, consumed the last bloodline. It hissed, drained her soul. "Then you will be immortal." The queen summoned the dark arts. Her body twisted, bones she became something new. Queen Ravina, the Eternal, tall as a tower, with silver blade wings and eyes of abyssal fire. But the people resisted. One night, in a moonlit glade near the ruins of a burned chapel, Snow White raised her sword of silver root and spoke. "We do not fight for beauty. We fight for memory, for justice." The army roared. Magic cracked the sky. Snow White rode at the front on her white stag, armored in woven forest steel and a cape of living petals. The siege of Valoria, the battle for the palace, began at dawn. Snow White led the charge, Alaric beside her, storming the ancient marble gates. Inside, the palace trembled. Ravina stood before her mirror, now cracked at its edges. "Mirror, tell me, am I still the fairest? You are fading." Screaming, she shattered the mirror and absorbed its fragments into her flesh. Snow White entered the throne room as her people clashed in battle behind her. "You dare return," Ravina hissed. "I never left. I was always here in their hope." The final duel began. The duel of light and shadow. Their battle shook the palace to its foundation. Snow White moved like moonlight and steel, weaving spells with every swing. Ravina's magic lashed like black fire, her blade a living serpent of glass. The throne room became a storm. Portraits burned, walls cracked, and magic ripped through stone. At one point, Ravina pinned Snow against the shattered altar of the gods. "Look at me," she roared. "I was beauty, I was eternal, and you're just a child." Snow's lip bled. She whispered, "And that is why I win." She raised her hand, summoning every memory of the kingdom, every blooming flower, every song, every child's laughter, and unleashed it in a blinding burst of light. Ravina screamed as her glamour shattered. The shards of the mirror burst from her body, impaling her with the truth she'd denied. She collapsed, her final breath, a hiss. How is beautiful. Then, silence. The crown of the true queen, the sky is cleared. The white stag bowed before Snow White as she stood over the ruins of the throne room. Prince Alaric came to her side, bloodied but smiling. Your people await, my queen. She ascended the steps to the shattered throne, not to sit, but to raise her sword, broken and bloodied, as a symbol of rebirth. Across Valoria roses bloomed again. Magic, once corrupted, returned to harmony. The palace was rebuilt, not with marble alone, but with forest stone, crystal light, and the help of all creatures, elves, humans, spirits, and animals. Snow White was crowned queen in a ceremony beneath the starfall. Just as the night she was born, her gown shimmered with the starlight of her past and the hope of her people. She wore no crown of gold, but one of silver leaves and petals. She married Prince Alaric, though kept her name. Together they ruled with love and fairness, opening Valoria's gates to all who sought refuge, beauty, or truth. Legend of the fairest queen. Legends say Snow White lived a long, luminous life. They say the mirror's shards were scattered to the winds, never to return. They say she never aged because her soul remained untainted by greed or envy. And in every generation, when a girl is born with light in her heart and fire in her eyes, the elders whisper, she has the grace of Snow White. Not because she is beautiful, but because she is kind and strong and just. Snow White ruled with Alaric by her side, and their two children, Princess Seraphine, aged 9, and Prince Thalon, aged 6, brought joy to the court. She was not the fairest by accident. She was the fairest because she chose to be. Whispers in the wind, it whispered to a wandering orphan girl, a child born with strange silver eyes. 10 years had passed since Queen Snow White shattered Ravina's mirror and liberated Valoria. Forests sang again. Crops fed the kingdom. No child slept hungry. She had been found crying under a dead tree, wrapped in frost-kissed cloth. But in the northern mountains, beneath the ruins of Ravina's black tower, something stirred. A shard of the mirror, missed during its destruction, pulsed with ancient power. She never aged. Animals feared her. Water froze when she wept. You are the fairest now. You will be more than her. And thus, the shadow was reborn. What am I? The silver-eyed girl in a quiet village near the Vale of Mist lived Alira, a child no older than 10. No one knew her parents. Snow White welcomed her with warmth, sensing something fragile in the girl. Princess Seraphine befriended her, unaware of the power coiled beneath the surface. Alira was quiet, strange, always staring at reflections. One night, she wandered to a pond and saw more than her reflection. She saw Queen Snow White, smiling, dancing, radiant, and something inside Alira snapped. Why do they love her? She whispered to the water. The mirror shard, long dormant, now lodged in her heart, awakened fully. A strange child in the castle, a merchant, brought Alira to the palace, believing her a lost noble. She was beautiful, pale, perfect. Alira lived among the royal children. But strange things began to happen. Mirrors in the palace cracked when Alira passed. Courtiers argued and aged rapidly in her presence. The roses Snow White touched wilted. One night, Queen Snow White heard a whisper while walking past the old mirror room now sealed. She sees you. She envies you. Snow froze. The voice was familiar. The cursed returns. Alira's power grew uncontrollably. Servants began falling ill. Animals turned to stone. Seraphine collapsed after touching her hand. Snow White confronted her. What are you, child? Alira cried. I don't know. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to be loved. And then the mirror shard burst from her chest, glowing, pulsing. It projected Ravina's voice. You thought you ended me. I am vanity. I am every girl who wants more than kindness. Now, she returned in a new form. Not a queen, but a child of envy. Ravina's spirit, trapped in the shard, had fused with Alira, the queen of glass. Ravina Alira escaped the palace in a storm of magic. Glass trees grew behind her. Frost followed her path. Mountains split open. She built a new castle, the Citadel of Reflections, made entirely of mirrors, suspended in the air by sorcery. From there, she sent illusions across the world showing false beauty, false glory, false truths. People became addicted to their reflections. They stopped living. They stared, wishing to be more. Valoria began to fall. Snow White, now older and wiser, knew what must be done. "I must finish what I started," she told Valoria. "You defeated her once, but this is your reflection now." "Yes," she said, "and that's why I must face it alone." Snow White, wearing her old enchanted armor, rode once again into danger, this time not to fight a queen, but to save a child. She entered the floating citadel of reflections, each hall showing visions of her past, her mother's death, Ravina's cruelty, her own pride. At the heart of the palace sat Alira, hovering, crying, surrounded by thousands of mirrors showing what she wished she was. "Why won't you let me be beautiful?" she sobbed. Snow White approached. "Because you already are, Alira, but beauty born of pain is a cage." Alira screamed. The mirrors shattered. Ravina's spirit emerged in ghostly form. "You can't destroy me, Snow White. I am inside her." "Then I'll go inside, too," Snow whispered. She reached into Alira's heart, not with magic, but with forgiveness. A beam of pure light exploded from Snow White's hand, surrounding the child in warmth and memory. "You are not Ravina. You are not a monster. You are Alira Niceu." She studied the old ways of magic, guided by the 7 guardians who had returned from the forest. The spirit howled. The citadel collapsed. Alira fell straight into Snow White's arms. Valoria healed once more. Alira, now free of the shard, remained at the palace. Snow White passed her crown to her daughter Seraphine 5 years later, choosing instead to travel the world, sharing stories, magic, and hope. Wherever she went, girls would run to her, holding broken mirrors, and ask, "How do I become like you?" And she would kneel, smile, and say, Snow White, now the elder queen, stood behind her with hands gently on her shoulders, "Not by being like me, but by being truly, gloriously yourself." Queen of flame and sand, the dawn of a new reign, the moon hung over Valoria's spires as the bells rang across the land. The kingdom thrived, peaceful, prosperous, and united under Seraphine's young, visionary reign. Queen Seraphine knelt before the moonstone throne, radiant in a gown of starlight and silver silk, her dark curls crowned in crystal ivy. She was banished by the combined power of 5 ancient queens, Snow White's bloodline among them. "Rule not with fear, rule not with fame," she whispered. "Rule with fire, and heart, and flame." The coronation marked a new age, but far beneath the southern sands, in a forgotten empire sealed for 3,000 years, a curse began to stir. The call from the desert, a traveler arrived at Valoria's gates, Sandblue, half dead, clutching a scroll of flame-burned parchment. "The dunes wake," he gasped. "They remember the throne." The scroll spoke of Zamarith, the lost empire of flame, once ruled by Queen Emzara, a tyrant sorceress who controlled sand, fire, and illusion. But the seals were weakening. Queen Seraphine knew she could not ignore it. A royal expedition was mounted. Knights, scholars, and mages prepared to cross the desert. Among them, Alira, now 20, a reformed mirror mage, and Seraphine's sworn protector. Prince Thalon, her younger brother, a strategist and falcon master. Captain Kell's son, Darian, a desert-born tracker. And Seraphine herself, wearing armor laced with enchanted stardust, trained in both diplomacy and sorcery. They set off toward the burning horizon, the ruins of Zamarith, after weeks of heat, Marazius, and ancient warnings from sand spirits. The party reached the obsidian ruins of Zamarith. Beneath its buried pyramids lay vast chambers of forgotten magic, glowing glyphs, floating scarabs, and shifting traps. The team descended, guided by ancient scripts. In the heart of the tomb, they found Emzara, his sarcophagus cracked, steaming empty. Alira gasped. Her hand brushed a broken seal. A voice whispered through the dust, "The blood of queens awakens me." Sand erupted. Fire burst from cracks. Emzara's spirit, coiled in flame, possessed a forgotten body of glass and gold. "Snow White's line has come to me," she purred. "I shall burn the rose to ash." The city of Zamareth's ruins transformed into a living fortress, born of illusion and ash. Seraphine's party was split. She and Alira were trapped inside a hallucinated palace, where every wall showed different timelines. Somewhere Seraphine never ruled, somewhere Snow White had turned to evil, and somewhere Seraphine herself wore Emzara's crown. "You fear becoming her," said Illyra. "I fear not being enough," Seraphine confessed. Outside, Thalon and Darian led survivors through sandstorms conjured by Ifrits, flame demons bound to Amzara's servers. Meanwhile, Amzara sent a message to Valoria, an illusion of flame appearing before Snow White. "Come, old queen, watch your seed burn." Snow White, now retired and living in the forest, knew she had to join the fight once more. The queen's return, Snow White rode again, her white stag long gone, but a new steed beneath her, a phoenix mare, born of Dawnfire, her hair now silver, her magic refined and quiet, her presence commanded the skies. She met Seraphine's army at the edge of Sandglass, where Valoria S. Green met Zamarith S. Gold. The mother and daughter reunited amid war. "They rise when their daughters call." "I thought you were resting," Seraphine said. "Queens do not rest," Snow smiled. Together, they led the last march of the Five Roses, a coalition of kingdoms descended from the queens who once sealed Zamareth. Illyra created mirrorgates for teleportation. Thalon unleashed falcons carrying light grenades. Darian fought with twin sabers blessed by sun gods. And Seraphine opened the forbidden flame book of Amara, risking corruption to learn how to counter Amzara as fire. The final duel in the Flame Temple, in the Temple of Mirrors and Flame. Seraphine faced Amzara. The ancient queen towered above her, her body burning with vengeance. Voice like thunder through glass. "You cannot defeat me. I am the desert. I am hunger. I am the queen history tried to erase." Seraphine unleashed a spell she forged herself. The sunburst rose, a fusion of Snow White's light and her own flame. Seraphine held her sword high. "You are history. I am legacy." Their battle lit up the sky. Fire versus light, illusion versus truth, wrath versus wisdom, Amzara screamed, collapsing into ash. But the temple began to fall. Sand devoured stone. Its time ended once and for all. Snow White and Seraphine escaped only by joining hands and casting a mirror walk, a forbidden spell Illyra had once sworn never to use again. They appeared in the desert, coughing but alive, surrounded by surviving warriors. Zamarith fell. She rebuilt diplomatic bridges with the southern tribes and buried the ashes of Zamarith beneath a field of golden roses. A queen and her star queen, Seraphine, returned to Valoria a hero. She was changed, not broken, not hardened, but Snow White returned to her cottage near the Star Lake, watching her children from afar. Illyra became High Mage of the new magical academy. Darian became captain of the Royal Guard. Thalon led expeditions to rebuild forgotten lands. And Seraphine ruled not just as a queen but as a symbol of harmony between fire and grace. "Power is not inherited," she once said. "It is tempered by truth, trust, and trials."